Michael Botte. Gotta remember that.
Yeah, right on, man.
Michael Botte is on the podcast, everyone. You guys don't really understand why I'm wearing these glasses because all your photos have you with glasses on, sunglasses.
Hey, Chris, that's how I hide. I did you the honor tonight. I wanted to look you right in the eye, of course, but that's how I hide, and I'm just going to keep it that way.
Excellent. We have Michael Botte on the podcast, and he is from the Michael Botte Band. He grew up in a small steel town along the Ohio River outside of Pittsburgh. He blends alternative country and rock into a sound that takes you on a journey with catchy hooks and toe-tapping beats. And he is also country rock singer, songwriter, born and raised there. And he resides currently near Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
Right on. That sounds like me.
So, Mr. Botte, so tell us a little bit of a history of who Michael Botte is and why do you have your own band? I was actually, before you answer, I was actually reading that it took you so long to find a band. It was just during the COVID-19 in 2020 when you actually got one together.
Yeah. So my musical history, if you want to go back that far, is a bit of a comedy of errors. I tried. I guess my first instrument when I was a kid, I always joked that my dad, sang more than he spoke. And so I always, singing was always around my house, and I remember as a kid kind of emulating my dad. So I guess, my voice was kind of my first instrument. But whenever I got married, Chris, back in, I was a kid, 25 years old, got married, and it was a time of change. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to learn this thing called guitar. How hard could it be? So I went to the local pawn shop, grabbed the guitar, and I thought, Chris, you just hit a couple of strings, stroke it gently, and these angelic sounds were going to come out. And I will tell you this, and my wife will tell you, it did not work that way for me. It was pretty awful. So that was my first go with guitar, back in the early 90s, and I threw it out the window, smashed the whole thing. It was awful.
Oh, no.
And then I moved to the Bay Area, San Francisco Bay Area. I lived in Oakland, California, and met this traveling guy who came through named Sebastian Beltrami. And he's one of my best friends to this day. And he taught me some stuff, We started to play together a little bit. And then, life took over. He had to go back to Australia. And so I was kind of, left there by myself, met some other guys. We've, formed this garage band. And we were a garage band, Chris, that never wanted to leave the garage. We were really good in the garage. Everything was perfect. Everything was cool, man. So, it just never worked out. And then, as COVID came, like you had referenced. I got time on my hands, and I didn't know what to do with the time that I had on my hands, right? So my daughter was drumming in a couple of bands, and she said, Dad, why don't you try to make music now? And Chris, I voraciously studied and learned and watched videos and read. I had never recorded a note in my life. And that's just kind of how, the Michael Botte Band was formed in a time of, confusion and chaos and uncertainty. Something positive came out of COVID, at least for me. And it wasn't very kind to me, COVID in general, but at least something positive came out.
That's great. So tell us about the band members you found and how long did it take you to find them? I meant, how did you know that you're going to be the drummer, you're going to be the keyboardist? How long did it take you to actually whittle down to the actual performers of your band?
Yeah, great question. Very, very easy because they're all me and my producer, Bob Beals from Sound Foundation Studios. We do everything virtually, back and forth. We send files. So there is no physical Michael Botte Band. It is a virtual band of me and my producer. And I tell you what, we like it that way. And you'd probably be surprised how much music is actually made that way, especially over COVID, which is when we started all this. So it's just us. So the bandmate, we get along really well, the two of us.
How did you find Bob Beals?
Yeah, good question. So I had put out, like I said earlier, I was voraciously studying and learning and watching videos and trying to learn how to record and produce. So I had put out an EP, a self-produced EP called Radiate. And it's funny it's called Radiate, and I'll explain that in a moment. And it was a respectable output for an amateur nobody like me. But I kind of sent some of the demos out on some Facebook music groups to get some opinions and thoughts on mixing and mastering and that kind of stuff. And Bob had answered some questions, and we kind of got to chatting a little bit. And he approached me and said, "Hey, man, I want to do something together." And of course, I was on my own at that point. I wanted to do everything by myself. So, I wasn't into having a producer, which is insane right now. It's crazy. But so finally, I sent him a demo and we did our first song. A New Rising Sun was the first song we did. So literally, we met on the internet. That's how it worked.
Wow, the internet's good for something.
Yeah, we met on the internet, not in the chat room, but it was in a Facebook group. Yes.
But am I under the impression that if you're going to make up your own band and become every member of your band, don't you have to learn, well, like for instance, GarageBand, you said you started a garage, but there's an actual software called GarageBand.
Yeah, there is. Yeah, yeah.
And then you have Pro Tools and all the other ones that literally you can create drums, you can create keyboards, but don't you have to learn to play these instruments before you can just suddenly sit down and say, okay, this song needs keyboards? Or do you just play around with it? It sounds pretty good. Let's add that.
No, that's a great question. So for me, I've always just kind of been vocals and rhythm guitar, but I've always had an ear for where things maybe should go. I've had a pretty good ear for arrangement. I think that might come from maybe my father being the local church choir leader and arranging songs, and he was a member of a lot of the local theater groups. So there's a lot of big arrangements and productions, and maybe some of that rubbed off. So I had a pretty good ear, and Bob and I together will go back and forth and say, hey, keyboards, do we need keys in here? Should we get some keyboards? Or we just, matter of fact, we just put a banjo in one of our songs. We've been looking to put a banjo sound in one of our songs. We just did that. So
wow,
he has people there that he could lean on, and then with the DAW, you can do some drum loops and drum things on your own with the boards and the pads. You'd be surprised how much you could accomplish. So you don't necessarily have to know everything perfectly, but you have to know enough to make it sound good. And we're doing.
Oh yeah. But I guess you make it known that you're the only member of your band, or do people, like for myself, I'm thinking he must have a band, but you're the band. So
yeah.
you have to let
so Bob always asked
me,
like, why aren't you just Michael Botte? Why didn't you do it that way? And I thought, you know what? I knew I'm going to have help in some way, shape, or form. And people just use their names. That's fine. People do it. But I just thought there's going to be a lot of people probably around to try to help me sound good and help me develop. So I want to use the word band. It just made it more plural. I just literally took the word band, added it to Michael Botte, and it became this plural thing, right? Because I knew people would be behind me. That was the whole reason why I didn't use just my name.
Well, I watch you with the guitar, and I'm wondering, what is that, a Gibson, a Taylor, that Stratocaster?
No, so I use all kind of Epiphone knockoffs. I mean, they're kind of Gibson knockoffs, but they're Epiphone. I've never really purchased anything of any real big value. I don't know. I just see things I like and I grab it. So those are all Epiphone. They're kind of the Gibson knockoffs.
Okay, so many pictures of you holding a guitar is just one of those knockoffs.
Oh yeah, one day maybe I'll buy a real one. I'd love to buy a real Martin one day. I've messed around with Martins a little bit in different guitar stores, and I swear every Martin you touch, you feel like it was made for you. But I just haven't gotten that far yet.
Well, I know that still the bands from the 70s and 80s, they rely on members, and they rely that you have to learn to play the bass. So you have to learn how to play the drums. And I don't know what many of them think about someone like you or others who decide, like Vox and Styx, for instance. Yeah. I don't think they've ever actually gotten together to play live before, and each of them like 20 minutes away from each other.
Yep.
And hey, if it makes music and people love it, and it's great. It doesn't matter how. You can call yourself Michael Botte Band. You can call yourself the Michael Botte Group, whatever.
Yeah,
works for you. And I like it. I like what you do. I like what you do.
Thank you.
Because you charted #1 on the Radio Indie Alliance Top 10 Music Chart. You charted #2 and #4 in the Banks Music Promotion. So many accolades here. So don't stop what you're doing. Just do what you're doing. If you want to be every band member, go ahead, because look what you got here. Place on Philadelphia's own WDNFphillies.com Hot 50 Songs. Wow. Michael Botte, you're doing well.
No, I appreciate that. Thank you so much. I mean, when Bob and I first did New Rising Sun, we were like any musician, this, you have one goal. We only have one goal. All of us have the exact same goal, Chris. I don't care who you talk to. We just want to be heard. Just want to be heard. And you got to put out a product that people want to hear. And whenever we put out the first one, New Rising Sun, we did get some really good accolades, some good news. It charted in a couple of small charts, and it just gave us more fuel for the fire. And I'm very happy to say that our last single, Beautiful Day, which is, I believe, is how kind of you and I met, charted at #1 on the World Music Indie chart in mid-May, and #3 on the European indie music chart in mid-May. We've dropped a little bit since then, but just having that opportunity and seeing the song take off like that, it just it gives you fuel for that fire. It really does. And our next release is July 14th, right around the corner. Maybe we'll talk about that. But
that is absolutely amazing. Wow. And also working with Bob Beals as well, or somebody else?
Yeah, no. So if you look at my Spotify, all my streaming services, I do have 3 songs out that were just self-produced, just myself. The other 4, soon to be 5, the ones that actually are good and actually people want to listen to, are the Bob Beals produced from Sound Foundation Studios. I learned a long time ago, as much as I wanted to be the self-contained unit and be independent, if I really wanted to get heard and put out a product good enough to be heard, I need Bob. So that's the way it's going to be.
Does your wife introduce you as my husband, the singer-songwriter, country singer? Did you say, oh, what does Michael do? Oh, he plays music. Okay, next.
No, she says, hey, it's your turn to unload the dishwasher. Should kill me if she heard it. No, look, this is, I'm blessed. I always tell people I have the greatest hobby in the world. I have a career and a whole life and everything, but my Lord, do I have the greatest hobby in the world. And they know it exists. Obviously, it's around. Bob and I talk a lot, and I'm doing a lot of stuff by myself sometimes in my little studio, and they know it's around. But hey, I'm a husband and a dad, and father, and all that kind of stuff first. Music's my second love, but thank God I have it as my hobby.
Oh yeah, if you enjoy it, keep doing it. Like I enjoy doing music, and I want to do what you do. I mean, is it important for me to have a song on Spotify so people say you're in music? Yes, I have a song on Spotify. Oh, I want to be your friend, or how much money do you have, or I want to date you because you're a multimillionaire. Most people out there don't understand that, right?
I haven't had that problem yet.
So do you actually have to push out all the girls that try to hit on you? And
no. Thank goodness the world that I live in, my little backyard and, my family life, it's not a very exotic life. So no, I have not had that problem yet, Chris.
Do they ask you to perform at barbecues and stuff like that?
No, not at all. No, that's okay.
That's too bad, because you're quite amazing.
Wow. Thank you for saying that. I appreciate that. Thank you. We try.
I will tell your wife to her face that, this guy's amazing. He's going to go places. He's going to be singing one day with Luke Bryan. I mean, this is going to be like,
oh my goodness.
Grant is going to call him up and say, hey, is this Michael? How do you pronounce your last name?
Yeah, he's going to call me, right?
Of course.
He's going to call me. All right, my phone right here. My phone is open.
So I know it says you're country singer, songwriter, whatever. Who would be your ideal musician to collaborate with? Do they have to be a country singer, or can they be anybody? Like, will you do a song with Britney Spears? Because I know that Tom McDonald did a rap song with John Rich.
Yeah,
totally different genres right there.
Yeah, that's a really good question. I don't think I've been asked that before. So my favorite musician of all time, unfortunately, just left us. He died recently. His name was David Crosby. You probably know him as Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young. I mean, I was with David for a very long time. So my Lord, to have the opportunity to stroke an acoustic guitar and try to put a harmony to something that he did, or I should say, him put a harmony to something that I'm doing, that would have been the pinnacle. Unfortunately, he's no longer with us. But there's a couple of artists out there that I really admire right now. I mean, I'm really getting into a band called Larkin Poe. I don't know if you know who they are. They're really rising out of Georgia, Nashville. Larkin Poe, 2 sisters, incredibly musically talented, and they have that kind of country rock kind of vibe and funk vibe. And boy, but I love to write something with them. Their songwriting and musicianship is through the roof. They've been doing it since they were toddlers. I mean, it's in their DNA. God, someone like that would be amazing to kind of hang out with a bit. Or I don't know. There's another guy out there. I was just listening to his music right now. Have you heard of Louis Hensley? Louis Lee, he goes by, kind of country hop and roll. I
haven't heard of him. No.
Yeah, he's kind of bringing like a sort of a hip hop vibe into the country rock out of Detroit, and really cool beats and great vibes. And I'm learning from him. He's a young guy, hardworking guy, but I'm kind of learning from him. So kind of all over the page a little bit, but for right now, it's me and Bob. And you know what? If the opportunity comes to sing with someone else, my door is open.
Hey, why not? I mean, I'm sure that you'll sing with anybody. It doesn't matter. But have you done any cover tunes in country genre?
Really good question. So Bob and I we're putting out our 5th song July 14th. Wow, it's next week. Wow, it is next week. And we did, yeah, oh my gosh, it is next week. We did talk about it's going to be time to do a cover, right? You got to do a cover. You got to bring some more people in the door, if you will, with the cover. And I just narrowed it down to a couple different choices, which I will not talk about or will not reveal because we haven't officially thought about it. But one of them is one of the most popular songs in rock and roll history that could use a bit of a facelift, I think, a little bit. So we're getting there. But the problem is, Chris, I have so many songs written that I wrote either 25 years ago over COVID. Matter of fact, I wrote one yesterday. So
really,
the catalog is filled. So I kind of have a lot of stuff to get out of my head. So I don't know when the cover is going to make it, man. But we're due. We're probably due.
That is amazing, my friend. Wow. One day I'm going to be in a record store if they're going to exist, and there's going to be a Michael Botte Band vinyl LP that you know.
Oh, vinyl. Oh, my goodness.
Vinyl's coming out again.
Is it really? I can't. I'd love to remember what my last vinyl, I can't remember what my last vinyl experience. I remember what my first vinyl purchase ever was as a kid. 1977. I saved all of my money, Chris. I was 8 years old. I was 1977. I think it was $3 or $2.50, and I bought Kiss Love Gun. Now, if you know the Kiss Love Gun cover, it's pretty haunting for an 8-year-old. My parents lost their mind. So anyway, that was my first vinyl experience. I don't know what my last vinyl experience would have been. So anyway, I don't have any vinyl left. It's all gone.
Well, I remember playing the Elton John Greatest Hits album, the very first one, because I think he's had 4 since, back in the 70s. I used to play that one to death. I bought all my record albums, vinyls, obviously, back in the 70s there. The Bee Gees was my favorite.
Oh, yes.
Yep. Spirits Having Flown was my favorite record album. I'm surprised that the record itself didn't get all scratched up because I played it to death. That and my my Sesame Street album as well. But yes. But amazing. I'm looking at all those songs that you majestically created with your talented mind and musical gift that you have. Can you describe your creative process when you write new music? Like, I talk to many musicians. Some say they can literally just think of a title and write the lyrics and music around it, or write the lyrics and put music, or just play or strum on the guitar, whatever melody, and say, okay, and then they start. So how do you do yours?
Oh boy. Well, I'll start out by saying how I wish it worked, and then I'll tell you how it actually works. I wish I could say, you know what, let's look at the weather report. Oh, tomorrow's Sunday. It's a beautiful day. A shameless plug right there, I think, but it's a beautiful day. Let me go sit under a tree with a notepad and the guitar, and let me just start writing songs. I wish that's how it did work for me. But Chris, for me, I can't explain why. I'm like the lightning bolt guy. I'm telling you, I have, my phone and notepad near my, bedstand at night. I'm the guy that wakes up with a melody, a chorus, a thought, and then I desperately try to go to my phone and like sing something into my phone at 3 a.m, and it's just a wreck. My wife, wakes up, or I feverishly try to put the words into my notepad app, and when I wake up the next day, it's amazing what I wrote, but I can kind of figure out what it was. But I'm one of those lightning bolt guys. I'm driving down the road and I'm, with the dogs, listening to music. Most everything I've ever written has been inspired by hearing something. And I'll get my voice memo, app out and sing a melody or a chorus or something into my phone. And then it's a mess and I got to put everything together. But that is just how it works. I wish it were easier than that, but it just comes out of absolute thin air.
That's amazing.
That's the truth.
That's amazing. Yeah, and then you come up with these fantastic songs, and there you go, and you can keep doing. Like, do you ever have like your son or your daughter walk in with the guitar and say, "Look, I'm daddy."
No, my daughter's a drummer. She was a drummer in a couple bands.
Wow,
She's taking a little break right now. She was young, but no,
nice.
she's a drummer. So yeah, she's the one who like over COVID was like, Dad, like why aren't you trying to make music? Like almost like what's wrong with you, you know? And so I talked to some people at her school, her music school, and we kind of got the ball rolling. But kind of COVID and her pushing me is kind of how I got here. So you never know where inspiration comes from, Chris. You just gotta be open to it, I guess.
So you're talking about singing in the app on your phone. It just brought to memory an app called the Demo app, and allows you to write a song. And I know a singer-songwriter who wrote one of her biggest hits on the Demo app. It's an
Really?
iPhone app.
Wow.
Yeah.
I don't
And
know
you
that
do
one.
know that GarageBand is actually an iPhone app as well. So
I've heard of it. I just never, I've never touched any of that stuff. All I do is just yell a melody of some sort just to kind of keep it in my head so I can get to a guitar and do something. But yeah, that's probably better. I haven't done it that way yet.
well, I joined this online singing app called Smooth Sing. Allows you to sing with people around the world. It's like an
Yes.
online karaoke. I'm
Yep.
part of that. But before I even discovered Smooth Sing, I downloaded and used a song called Smooth Songify. And what it does is allows you to use like just say something. I did a few scenes from Forrest Gump, or I just said whatever, and you can choose any genre, and it turns it into a rap song, a classical song, an opera song. So I was doing like the whole "Life is like a box of chocolates," and you play it back, and it goes, "Life is like a box of chocolates," and
With
it's
a
really
beat behind it.
amazing. Yeah, and I upload like 4 or 5 or 6 different songs, and I say, okay, now this is boring now. But
That's funny. No,
like you said, you have all these different types of guitars, instruments that you just decided to pick up. It's nothing big. And as long as you enjoy it, because you don't want to wake up one morning and say, I don't want to do music anymore.
yeah.
You know, don't
No,
want to
I
do
have
that.
a hashtag that I use all the time, Chris, and a lot of what I write, a lot of stuff hasn't been released yet. But as example, my next song that's coming out July 14th, very very different than what's out right now. It's a little slower, shows a little bit more of a softer, vulnerable side, very reflective. It kind of speaks to mental health issues and mental health challenges. So I use a hashtag all the time called Music is Therapy. We all, Chris, everyone has their own challenges with their own mental health, physical health, spiritual health, all these different things. And people use different ways to help, mitigate any kind of danger they might fall into. And you could use medication, you could use proper health professionals, you could use diet and exercise. For me, I write and play. I mean, that music is therapy for me. So that's how I do it. And I'm just so happy that I found that. So yeah, that's a hashtag that I use. Yeah, music is therapy.
So you're talking about spiritual. I suppose that you're a Christian?
So I was born and raised in a very Italian Roman Catholic church in my little town, along the Ohio River. And I thought everybody was just Italian and Catholic or Serbian and, Orthodox. That's how I grew up. Then I went away to big university, Penn State University, and went away and was like, whoa, all kinds of people from all over the place, and all kinds of different colors and creeds and looks and languages. And so, if you talk about man-made religion versus spirituality, I look at those as different things. I know this is not the forum probably to get into that, but yeah, I would suggest that I do have a spiritual side. A lot of the songs that I've written certainly speak to a higher power. Yeah.
I understand. So if you suddenly wake up in the morning and these words flow from your tongue and you start writing them down, and then you get your guitar and you make a song out of it, is this something you just say, okay, I got one, let's do it? Or do you just work on it? Like, how long do you think it would take you to do a song that you're happy with it?
Wow. Yeah. So what's funny, I know I keep talking about July 14th, but the next song, My Way, I started writing it 23 years ago, maybe. And I
Wow.
finished it 20 years ago. So, I don't know if you're going to count it as 23 years from start to release. So that would be 23 years. That's probably not a normal process. But it just, again, it's pretty reflective, and I wasn't ready for anyone to hear it until about a week from now. So that one was 23 years. But for me, it usually happens really quickly. Everything comes really quickly, the whole thing. And then what I typically do is I'll think about, can I say this a little bit better? Is there a different word choice I could use? I try not to force different rhymes. I try to work it out that way. But typically the structure, 80% of the song is done. We're talking minutes. Again, it's that kind of lightning bolt thing that goes on. And then I just try to make sure I'm using the right words and the phrasing and, that kind of thing. Make sure that there's a good rhythm to it and work it out. But I'll play it again and again, probably 20 times. And then a lot of times it just sticks. Yeah.
If your wife or daughter or a friend would come up to you and say, okay, I have one of your songs here, and starts to sing a lyric, would you be able to finish it off by heart?
I sure hope so. At least the ones released. But the problem is I probably have 30 songs in my book that have never been released yet that will be recorded. There's probably at least 30 more. So I would hope I could do it for the ones released. Certainly you could test me if you want, but I hope I could. But all of them, every single song, I don't know. I might fumble a little bit.
I noticed that when I sing, I learned my lesson, but I would have like a pizza, and then I would sing, and suddenly you get this so I like this phlegm. So you don't do that. You eat after you sing.
Correct. Yes.
And lemon water. And so what's your rituals before you literally start singing or going on stage or performing?
Yeah. Oh boy. And this is probably awful. This is probably really bad, but every song that you've heard right now was recorded in my bedroom with dogs at my feet, standing in front of a Shure SM57 microphone that I bought 25 years ago. With the mailman coming, just chaos, right? I have a pop filter. At least I have a pop filter. 25-year-old Shure SM57. So I would typically wake up on a Sunday morning before the family, like early on a Sunday, before the family would kind of get going and do things, and have my little private time in my room, which was my studio. And I would do a few gurgles, probably a couple of those, and it really wasn't much. And I know that's bad. I really should be doing vocal exercises and things. I don't even know a single vocal exercise to do. I just yell into the microphone and do a little bit of pitch shifting. Of course, any musician knows there's a little bit of pitch shifting that goes on. And that is it. There's nothing else. And that's not right. I know it's not right.
That's okay. Musicians do any ritual they want. Like some of them just do the jumping jacks or
Yeah, that's how I do. I should do more. I really should. I have to say the voice is changing a little bit. I haven't recorded anything in a while, so I gotta be careful and make sure that I keep it fresh.
Have you ever mentored or trained another musician? Like, describe what you've done to help them.
So there were two on the docket, two who wanted me to do that, and then when it finally came time to get a guitar and make the commitment, magically time was an issue and it just didn't work out. So I did offer it twice, but I've never been taken up on it. So I have yet to accomplish that goal.
Well, that's awesome. So you think you have the qualities that makes a good musician?
No. Why, no.
Honestly?
I'm not a musician in the purest sense. I hear things. I play some chords. I put it to melodies and put thought and heart and soul into it. But I don't know how to read notes and music, and I don't know what a scale is. I don't know any of that stuff. I just play what I know and what I hear and what I like, and I find it and just make it work.
Yeah, you're like you're discovering all this stuff, all the big master tenors and sopranos and bands and singers and songwriters out there use all the traditional things to make music, but all you do is you don't do this, you don't do that. You just say, okay, if it works, it works. And look at you. I mean, look at all these accolades. I'm like, wow, this is amazing.
Oh, thank you, Chris. Honestly, Bob and I always talk. I said, all I want to do is put something out there that's listenable, that somebody would want to listen to. Like I said before, we just want to be heard. And this formula of the way I've been doing it, and of course, Bob, Bob has incredible production skills. He's been doing this for 40 plus years. He was the front man of a band for years and played to thousands of people. But as time progressed, he just found his, way to the other side of the desk, if you will, other side of the console, and mixes, masters, produces. So I have I have a lot of production help too. He makes me sound better than I probably can make myself sound. But so he definitely plays a role in it. Yes, and any musician will admit that there is production work that goes on.
Well, that's great. Well, this is nothing against your wife, but how do you deal with performance anxiety when you're on tour?
Never been on tour. No, never a tour.
Well, I mean, you're talking about mental health. If you have to perform with somebody or perform for somebody, and are you anxious? Is it like, let's get this over with? Or do you just like, oh, your mom to play you a song? Okay, boom, and you start playing and that's it.
Yeah, I've always been kind of one of those guys that just sort of jumped in and just did it. And it is what it is. Mental health is all around me, and I've had my own bouts. But I certainly, don't experience it that often. The anxiety and that kind of thing. I just have a way of, I guess, just getting myself out of it. Thank God, I just have that gift. So no, I don't really get anxious that much. I just kind of do it, and it is what it is. And I hope it worked. If it didn't, on to the next one.
Oh yeah. So you're talking about you have so many songs written, even like 25, so many years ago. A lot of bands, a lot of singer-songwriters, including like the Beatles. Like Paul McCartney released a Beatles song using AI.
Oh wow.
Now I don't know. What do you think of AI taking over not taking over the music business, but being used to create these fantastic songs? Like they put the first 8 seconds of Hey Jude by the Beatles, and it filled in the rest. And it sounds nothing like Hey Jude, but it does sound pretty good. And I did the same thing with Amy Winehouse. And if you didn't know it was an AI, you would think it was a song by Amy Winehouse, but the AI made it himself.
Yeah,
So what do you
so
think of that?
I've just started flirting a little bit with like AI, like picture development, kind of not video development, but different pictures and things with AI development to use as backgrounds for things. So I've been flirting with it there. But I have to admit, I did put out a press release for Beautiful Day. Yeah, I did put out a press release for that one. And there was an AI tool to help write the press release. And Chris, I got to say, like, it was written pretty well. I mean, it really sounded pretty good. I'm not to say that I couldn't have done something close, but I kind of mixed what I wrote with the AI. But I got to say, it really sounded good. So that is my only experience right now. Very, very ancillary, very, very Genesis. I don't really know exactly where this is going to go or what's going to happen. I don't know. It'd probably be beyond my lifetime. I don't know. But that's all I've used it so far is a couple of cool pictures and to help me do a press release.
Well, we do know that AI can actually match your voice and make them exactly like sound like you. There's a lot of they use it for scams a lot. How much integrity do you have if you just used AI to not only clone your voice and have it sing a song that it created, and the only thing that you did was press the button? Would you have the integrity to say, okay, it becomes a big, massive hit, 1 billion streams on Spotify, you made your $100,000. Would you like swallow your pride, or would you just say, you know what, I didn't write that, it was an AI? How much integrity do you have to keep that secret or to actually be truthful about it?
I mean, it's easy for me to, have an opinion because I haven't experienced that, of course. But the reason why I do this is because I want to experience it. I want to do it. I want to. I want to take the time to do it. This keeps me busy. Like I said, it's my therapy. If I would just push buttons that much, I mean, we do push buttons as musicians. I mean, anyone who produces pushes buttons. We all do in our DAWs. But I have to have some investment in this. Otherwise, it's the time that you put into it is part of the value. So if I'm not putting the real time into it, coming from my heart and my soul, I don't know, man. That doesn't sound right to me. Now, I don't have much of an opinion to know if it has a place somewhere that maybe I'm just too ignorant to know. But for me, I want to do it. I want to sing it. I want it to be my breath going into that microphone. That's just how I want to do it.
Well, that's not too bad. It's okay. I mean, if I was able to use an AI or software program or Pro Tools or demo app, and I create a song, and one of the members of my band is actually me, but I made it sound like female. So there's my female member, another one with a very low voice like this, and another one with a very high falsetto. So now I have 5 members of my band. It's all me, 2 female, because I take my voice and I make 2 female from it. and I create this fantastic song and becomes a big hit. Am I liable if they find out one day, like the whole Milli Vanilli scenario, where they were caught that they were lip syncing the whole thing? And the
Yeah, but they
problems
never
they had.
actually started it. You actually sang the first part. You said you just copied it to. You actually sang it. Milli Vanilli never sang a note, so you actually sang it, right? So that's your voice, no different than if you sang the melody, the lead part in a band, and you had multiple singers with you singing their parts. That's okay. These are just more singers singing their parts, but you're actually doing it. So to me, you're actually doing more work. Because you
Yeah, but
started
you're
it.
forgetting, if they want to meet my band, then I'm in trouble. It's sort of like, remember when Stephanie Zimbalist in Remington Steele, she made up Remington Steele and then she had to find somebody to play Remington Steele?
No.
That's a show from the 80s. You had to watch that
Yeah, I
one.
remember the name. Yeah, I never saw it. I don't know, man. That's a good problem to have. If you have enough people that want to meet your band, hey, we'll figure it out.
Yeah, that's true. So what would you be doing right now, Michael, if it wasn't for your music?
Oh man, like I said, music is therapy, right? I don't know how I would spend my time. It does take up quite a bit of time, thankfully, and a lot of my time is actually listening to other musicians. I think one of the biggest things for me, being relatively new. I guess if you had to put a date on it, we didn't really start until 2020, right? 3 years ago. So for me, I had to learn a lot really quickly. I mean, I was a listener of music and an admirer of music for decades. It's been in my family and been in my life forever. But as far as actually kind of being in the scene a little bit, just a little bit, I guess I'm in the scene now. I listen so much more, but I listen in a different way. Like I almost listen from a, producer standpoint, and from a writing standpoint, from a lyricist standpoint. It's not just listening to a song for the sake of listening to a song. So there is a bit of a curse to trying to be in the music business. I listen differently right now. So what else would I be doing right now? I don't know. I don't have any other hobbies. I don't have too many other interests. I just do this and I watch the grass grow. I love watching the grass grow with my dogs. Really, as I'm getting older, Chris, I'll be 54 this year, but with my two dogs and a little bit of sunshine and the grass growing, not so bad.
Except for when you said that your wife was what said, who's gonna do the dishes tonight? You go,
I will take care of that.
Do the dishes for you. Oh, there's a song right there.
I'll write a song.
Yeah, So what is coming out again in July at the?
Our next single, it's called My Way, July 14th.
My Way. Now, why is it called My Way?
Yeah, wow, that's a good question too. Like I said, I started writing it probably in the late 90s. Late 90s, and finished it in 2000. Matter of fact, 2003, I finished it. 20 years ago, I finished it. It's called My Way because the chorus talks about, asking for help and finding your way. It's kind of about being lost, a little confused, and understanding that it's okay to ask for help. People sometimes forget that, whenever you are kind of working on your mental health, it's okay to ask people to help you, find your way along your way. So the chorus goes, help me find my way. So that's kind of the whole meaning behind that, my way, help me find my way. It's okay to ask for help.
So do you think a musician is a great musician because how long it takes them to write a song? Or do you think if a musician can write 6 songs and the album's completed in 2 months compared to someone like you who has 30 years worth of songs and some are unfinished?
Oh boy. Yeah. I don't know. Some of the greatest songs ever written. I mean, think about Neil Young. I think you mentioned Neil Young before. He wrote Ohio in 10 minutes, I think, and they recorded it probably an hour later. I think they pressed it the next day. It was a matter of hours. David Crosby will tell you that they got that out. So that was written in no time at all. Then you probably have, maybe some of the songs on, Rush 2112. God, the complexity of those songs probably took forever to write. So I don't know, man. I don't care how long it takes. All I want to know is that, did you make something that, for me, music has to do one of 3 things, Chris, one of three things, preferably all 3, think, move, or feel. And if you could accomplish that in writing a song in 10 minutes versus 10 years, good on you, man. But it's got to make you think, move, or feel. Preferably all 3, at least one of the 3. However long it takes, I don't care.
Now, you said that your daughter is a drummer. Is your wife musically inclined as well?
No, listens to music every day of her life, but no, nothing of any interest now.
do you feel that's one thing that usually when you're married, the one thing that your wife can't really be part of, or is she actually there watching you as you stroke, as you play, as you learn, as you write?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes I'll bounce, I bounce some ideas off of her, just like, hey, man, does this sound right? Or can I say this in a different way? You know,
Mhm.
maybe the phrasing doesn't work exactly and the syllables don't work. And she'll come, sometimes she actually put a lyric into one of my choruses for a song that hasn't been released yet. She put some of
Wow.
the lyrics into one of my choruses because I was struggling, and she nailed it, absolutely nailed it. But unfortunately, I don't use anybody really often at all. I just write it all myself, and even Bob doesn't hear a single word sometimes. He just gets the vocals because I record them here and send them to him. He has no idea what I'm saying. So unfortunately, I'm kind of selfish in that I just kind of write what I think sounds good and what's in my head, and hopefully it works.
Well, what's stopping you from being like what Taylor Swift does, like maybe 1 or 2 albums a year? Like if you're saying it takes you 30 years sometimes to write a song, that's 30 years worth of albums. What do
Yeah.
you think is holding you back from releasing an album per year?
Yeah, so Bob and I talked about this. Like I said, I could do 2 albums next month. I mean, they're ready to be
Mhm.
recorded. Um, we talked about just kind of taking this ride a little bit slower. We talked about a cadence of every 3 months, 4 a year, 4 songs a year, every 3 months. And we were going to see how that cadence worked and kind of how, the release and, let the song kind of build some momentum and then let it breathe a little bit and then kind of see about the next one. And plus we wanted to learn. I mean, this is a whole new world for me, man. This whole new musical ocean I've never dipped my toe in before. So it's new for me. So I wanted to go slow and just see how I could learn. And even our sound is changing. We kind of landed in that kind of country rock, alt country rock, but we're kind of now more getting more towards that kind of Americana, maybe even more in the pop world a little bit, maybe. So even our sound is changing as we're going kind of slow. So I just don't want to do it too fast. I know that we're not guaranteed tomorrow, and I can get hit by a
Yeah.
bus tomorrow, and then all my songs will go away, right? But I'm just kind of taking it slow. Again, I have a full-time career and full-time life other than music, so every 3 months just seems to be working, and it's a good cadence, and we're going to keep it going until there's a reason to change.
Oh yeah. Do you think that the music industry has suffered a big blow since you can now download songs on the internet? You have Spotify. You have someone like Sting who sold his entire um, c- catalog for 300 million, I think, and
Yeah.
I think Neil Young and Bruce Springsteen did the same thing. What do you think is the reason for that? Didn't you make money throughout the 30, 40, 50 years you're playing music? Why you just suddenly want to get rid of it? Like, I don't understand these things.
Yeah, I know a lot of those guys were very anti-streaming. I mean, the streaming business, of course, is very, very different than the way it used to be. And again, I don't have that much experience, but now that I'm in the streaming side, I mean, these poor musicians who have to try to pay some bills, maybe I could hide behind the fact that I have a career. I don't need to pay the bills, but to try to get the bills paid by just streaming music is insane. And I know there's a lot of soapboxes and a lot of people talking about this. It is insane. Just as an example, if I get a million streams, which I don't know if I'll ever get a million streams, that's roughly maybe $3,500. The
Hmm.
hell am I going to do with $3,500 and a million streams? Doesn't make any sense. So I think a lot of these folks just said, hell with it. We're just going to sell it all. It's got value right now. I'll just take it. And then you stream it maybe. I don't know. It's just very, very different. I know it's very, very challenging for people. And even like the streaming services, you read articles. I think the last I read, 20,000 songs a day get uploaded to streaming services. 20,000 a day. So now here
Wow.
comes me, the Michael Botte Band, July 14th. There's going to be 19,999 songs uploaded to Spotify that day. Where am I going to land? Where am I going to go? It's very, very challenging, which is why a lot of musicians don't realize there's a whole marketing and whole promotion side to this thing. I wish it were a talent contest and just all the best songs won. It doesn't work that way. There's a whole side to marketing promotion, and especially now with the Spotify's and the streamings of the world where you just pick a song that you want to listen to. I don't even know who makes albums anymore. The album's just listed by all the songs, and you pick and choose which one you want and you save it. It's just so different, so different. And I don't have experience in the prior world. I've only started in the streaming world, but those old guys, the old guys that kind of, led the way, I get it. I get it.
Well, yeah, you have to have also a retirement plan. You want to get that from your music, or do you want to get that from your career?
Yeah, yeah. Like I said, I could hide behind the fact that I have a career, so it's easy for me.
Yeah. So, what do you think? It's people like Taylor Swift or the Rolling Stones, who are still touring, and Elton John, who's touring, even though he said he was going to retire, but he's still doing it. But someone like Billy Joel, River of Dreams, last album, 1992, 93, boom, that's it. He's done. So what do you think is going on there when suddenly they either drop out or they keep doing what they're doing because they have nothing else to do? I mean, it's sort of like
it's sort of like when
someone like
this
retire and then they suddenly come back after 20 years because they haven't planned your retirement,
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Being a musician like that, I mean, so worldly, so well renowned, so a provider of gifts to the musical universe like that. To me, it's got to be in your DNA. It's not an occupation. It's air you breathe. It's the water you drink. It's the sun that shines your face. I just have to believe these people. It keeps them alive. I mean, you're gonna tell me if Keith Richards stopped playing music, what's going to happen to Keith Richards? I want him to keep playing that guitar because they just put out a record in 2020. It's a fantastic record. I wish I knew the name of it. It's fantastic. I forget the name of it. Stone Blues or something. Fantastic. This is 60 years. I just have to believe it is the air they breathe. And if you still have the physical prowess to go and move and tour and bus after bus and plane after plane, and if you could still do that and put on a show that people want to spend $200, $300, $400, $500 to go see, good on you, man. Keep doing it. It's the air you breathe, and I appreciate it.
I agree. That whole joke with Keith Richards, how through all his life, how come he's still alive? So the thing is now, when Keith, you know who Keith Richards is going to leave his entire fortune to?
Is it Cher?
Himself. Because he doesn't die. We'll be dead long before he is.
Well, I was joking. Maybe he's died a couple times. They just put some new blood in him maybe and revive him and they bring him back out. I'm just joking, obviously. But
no, I know.
Yeah, I mean, the Stones, I just can't believe, a band like that's, keep doing it. And we're going to have bands like that maybe, that continue that, like, the Foo Fighters as an example, or Metallica, this band Pearl Jam. We've been talking about them in, 30 years from now, hopefully, if I'm still around, as bands who also did that,
Well, yeah, you're talking about the Foo Fighters and Dave Grohl. I mean, like, he was a drummer for Nirvana. He played with Kurt Cobain, and then suddenly, after everything is said and done, he decided he'd start his own band. Yep. I think that's amazing. Instead of just, you know what? Kurt Cobain's dead. I guess I am too. Might just no, he didn't. I look at Foo Fighters. They're going great. They had their big single Big Me. It was excellent. I mean, look at it now. They're just a beautiful band. And Chester Bennington of Linkin Park, after he passed, I don't know if you're familiar, the first album 20 some odd years ago, Meteora, was supposed to have 13 songs on it, but they could only put 12. And that 13th song, my friend, lost. Shinoda, I think his name is. He released it just last year.
Oh,
it was a 13th song that was supposed to be in Meteora. He released it. So
wow, no idea.
There's a lot of musicians out there who have, like, you, even yourself, have like 20, 30, 40, maybe 100 songs. Like even Prince has over 100 songs. You could release 20, 30 more Prince albums posthumously.
Yeah. Oh, wouldn't that be great? Yeah. Yeah, I do have a book. The book is getting bigger and bigger, and but like I said, we're going to keep to this cadence of like every 3 months. I could probably do one every 3 weeks if I wanted to, but we're going to keep this cadence going.
Well, if someone said to you, okay, Michael Botte, if there is some way to change the whole entire music industry, what is the first thing you would do?
Wow. I'm not sure if I've even qualified to make a comment, but I will say, like we talked about before, it does seem to be such an atrocity. And some big people are talking about this, to where these, poor musicians who, I say poor musicians because they work so crazy hard to try to make a living and pay the bills. I just wished, the remuneration, the reward for putting out such amazing, artistic effort, what was commensurate with what they do. And it's just unfortunate. I wish you could make a living, a reasonable living, being a minstrel, playing music, making people happy. Fortunately, you can't do it. It's very, 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 very challenging. You can do it, I should say. You can, but it's very, very challenging. So I just wished there was a way for people to be able to make a living, to feed themselves, feed their families, simply by perfecting their craft. That would be my wish.
Now, I know that you love to sing. And what if a famous band said, "Okay, Michael, you have a chance to be part of our band"? What band would that be?
Well, yeah, it's funny. So Bob and I, there's one band that we kind of try to emulate our sound after, and I'm going to use air quotes, try very desperately to emulate our sound after. Matter of fact, the singer is a Pennsylvania guy. His name's Pat Monahan. He's actually
Oh
my age.
yes, yeah,
Yeah,
Train. My
it's a band called
favorite
Train.
group, Train.
Band called
Oh, I
Train.
love Pat Monahan. What a great group, huh? I love it.
If I could, if I could sound 5% like Train, and we try, and we use some of their reference tracks, and we try to emulate them where we can. Train is that's top of the heap, man. Top of the
Oh
heap.
yeah, big Train fan right here, and a
Oh.
big Imagine Dragons fan here as well.
No, right on, right on.
And you're gonna laugh at this. I'm a big, huge Tim McGraw fan.
Yeah, right on. I don't know any of his work, but I know who he is.
Oh yeah,
Sure.
Live Like You Were Dying. When skydiving, when Rocky Mountain climbing, he went 2.7 seconds on a bull named.
I've heard that song. I didn't know that was
McGraw.
his song. I've heard that song. Yes,
That's Tim McGraw. Yes, I'm a big Tim McGraw fan. Now, I don't really, I'm not into country, but like Reba McEntire, I really like Reba McEntire.
Yeah, you gotta respect folks like that. 100%.
Oh yes. So what is your favorite song to perform, Michael?
Favorite song to play. Right now, they're all very different. They're very different. I would probably say, the one that, I guess for me, the next one, the one that's going to be released July 14th, because I just know, what it means to me. But as far as having kind of fun out there, Beautiful Day, which is the one we spoke about before. It's just such an upbeat song. It's got a big, fun chorus and, Blue Diamond Skies, all that kind of stuff. So that's a really fun song to play. So that would be the most fun to play. But, the one that would kind of bring me down a little bit and just kind of be very reflective and introspective would be My Way, which comes out in a couple of weeks or 10 days, whatever it is.
Do you have a song that you listen to that changes your otherwise dreary day upbeat?
Oh, wow. I have some favorite songs of all time. It's funny. People ask me your favorite song, your favorite band, and it's so time and moment in time constraint for me, because different music and different bands serve a different purpose for different times in your life, different time of day, different emotion, all this kind of things. But there's a song that, matter of fact, I sent it to someone this morning on Facebook, because they were feeling sick, and this girl on Facebook, and she said, "Hey, send me a song that I probably never heard before." So I chose to send her a song. It was recorded, I believe, in the mid-90s, mid-90s, late 90s, by a band called the Verve Pipe. It's called Colorful. Do you by chance know that song?
No.
Yeah, I think it's one of the most well-crafted songs I've ever heard, and it's top couple. I don't know if it's top 5, 10, 3, top for me. So yeah, if you're bored a little bit later, the Verve Pipe, and the song is called Colorful. Matter of fact, the song was actually used in a Mark Wahlberg movie called Rockstar. It was one of the songs at the end that they actually used the song in it. I never even knew that, but they did. So the Verve Pipe Colorful was a song that I just play, and it just makes me, it just picks me up, man.
But the Verve Pipe and the Verb are not the same band,
No, two different bands, completely different bands, very different bands. Yeah, no, thanks for saying that. Verve Pipe, yes.
Verve Pipe. Okay, I'll have to give that a shot. There is a song which actually, it's an old band from the 80s. You ever heard of Doug and the Slugs?
No, Doug and the Slugs, no.
Okay, now, yeah. Now, Doug Bennett passed away some years ago, their lead singer, but there's a song called Day by Day. It's not Day by Day. It's the one Day by Day by.
Oh, not by
Doug and the Slugs. So whenever I'm feeling down or my days, I usually listen to Day by Day by Doug and the Slugs, and I would guarantee that you'll like it too. Really great song.
On. Yeah, I don't know that one. I'll tell you what, I'll find yours and you find Colorful by the Verve Pipe.
Yes, Doug and the Slugs, Day by Day. Let me know what you think of it.
Yep. After this, when we're done here, I'm going to look it up.
Yes, you'll love it. So what is the best advice that you've ever been given that you use today?
Best advice ever. My my dad was kind of like the jokester kind of guy in the neighborhood. He was the fun time guy. He was the always smiling, laughing. Unfortunately, he got really sick and later in life, so some things had to change for him, but he always had a smile on his face. And he always just taught me you got to laugh. You got to laugh in life. You can't take things too seriously because you never know what tomorrow brings. So for me, for the love of God, have fun, because I don't know, the sun's going to set here soon. I hope I'm going to see a sunrise tomorrow, but I have no idea. So laugh and have fun as much as you possibly can.
I totally agree with you. If you could play any venue in the world, what would it be? Before you answer, I always ask this question because there's a difference between whatever venue you play at. Is it the acoustics that matter? Is it the echo? Is it the reverb? What matters to you? That you play it properly, that there's a reverb, that there's an echo, or acoustics? What matters to you when you play at a venue?
Yeah, I mean, of course, anyone wants to sound good, right? And acoustics do play a part in that. Some places are just better than others, and big stadiums can be rough, but places that are kind of maybe built for acoustics or naturally built for acoustics. And I'm leading into the place that I would love to play at because of the acoustics. However, the grandeur and the view overlooking Denver, Colorado from this place called Red Rocks, Colorado. It's just, I saw my favorite musician of all time for my 50th birthday party. My wife, first time I'd ever been there. We went to Red Rocks on my 50th birthday, or that year for my 50th birthday. And I saw Michael Franti and Spearhead, who I've been with Michael Franti for decades.
Wow.
Met him on 3 different continents, saw him on 3 different continents, and saw him play there. And I just thought, the love of God. Have you ever been there? Have you ever seen Red Rocks?
No.
You've heard of it, right?
I feel like going now.
Oh my God. Well, look it up. I mean, it's just, the good Lord put these 2 enormous boulders right in this little valley, and it's just naturally a bowl. I mean, look up the pictures, and they light it up at night. It is unworldly. It's just phenomenal. That would be the place.
Really? So would there be an echo, I guess?
Not an echo. No, there's no echo. But definitely the sound is all around you. It's vibrating all around you off those stones, and it's phenomenal. It's big. The sound is big and grand. And again, the view that you have, it's just like this sensory, just, the stereo sauna that you're kind of just, soaking in.
Yeah, but wait a minute, Michael. Just because it worked for him, it may not work for you.
Well, I'm just going to take my chances. If Michael could do it, maybe I could do it. The other Michael.
Yeah. 2 Michaels together
2 Michaels,
again.
yeah.
You imagine? So was there ever a time that you felt like just quitting music altogether?
Yeah. So it's only been a few years, but I got to say, when I first started, like I said, I was the self-contained unit. I wanted to do everything myself and produce and everything. And I put out a respectable output. But, once I started hearing, some, really good songs that I had liked from other indie artists, and, I listened to a lot of other people to see how they're doing things and what they're doing. And I was listening to my production, and, they held water to quite a few, but man, they were really just subpar to a lot of the production work that a lot of people had done. And some of these were professionally produced, and some indie artists have the gift of being able to do all that themselves. I thought maybe I had that gift, but Chris, I do not have that gift. Thank God I have Bob Beals. He stays in his lane. I stay in my lane. But yeah, whenever I started comparing it to some of the other folks that I really admired, I thought, oh man, this isn't going to work this way. I don't think it's going to cut it for what I'd like to do, for what I'd like to be, and that's be heard. I'm not sure if this is going to be good enough. And I just kind of pouted a little bit. And then finally I met Bob. And like I said, I put out that EP, that first EP called Radiate. And what's funny is that we are doing the first song off of that EP in our next release in October. We just started production work on it. It's amazing how it kind of goes backwards, because I love the song so much, but I want Bob to produce it as opposed to me to produce it. So, yeah, I would just say that once I compared to other folks, I thought maybe this isn't for me. But then, I met Bob, and we started doing our thing, and I got to hear how we can make me sound together, and it's definitely put fuel on the fire. Definitely. Yeah.
Yeah. So your first EP is called Radiate. Now, why did you choose the songs to put on that EP? Is
Yeah.
it?
So when I
Do
first
they all have
started,
radiate in the lyrics? Do they all have somebody dealing with radiation and the sort?
yeah, it's hazardous waste. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
hazardous waste. I ripped it off of the universe. So yeah, that first EP. So I thought, like, if you listen to those songs, I mean, they still exist. If someone downloaded them, I guess they have them, but they're off of all the streaming platforms. The good news about putting music onto the streaming platforms, you could take them off just as easy. It was very easy to take it off. So I thought I was going to be more in that kind of grunge rock, kind of modern rock world. So those songs were very much in that vein, kind of dirty guitars, simple choruses. And so I thought that's kind of where I was going to land. And I don't know, it just didn't work out that way. And I ripped that thing out of the universe. And the first song off of it was a song called Radiate. I named the album Radiate. And there is some spiritual overtones to that song. One of the songs is called Soulfully Appreciating. It was about a time I spent in India with some Hindu holy men, and a song about that. And then, another song about kind of mental health. I got a song. And so what I'm probably going to end up doing those songs, or actually Bob and I are probably going to do those songs again at some point. It's just, I ripped those out. So they're not all about radiation. No.
Okay, so I hope that we never hear any breakup songs.
Yeah, I don't have any Lover's Lament. No, nothing like that. So far, no one's left me yet. So not even my dogs. They're still right under my feet right now. Not even my dogs, Chris. My dogs are still with me.
You do know what a backwards country song is. My dog came back. My
Yeah,
wife.
the truck. Yeah,
I got my truck back.
Yeah. The truck starts. Yeah, I don't have any of those things. No.
Well, Michael, we got two great remaining closer questions for you, and you're going to probably one of them you're going to find a hard time answering.
Oh boy.
But the first one is before we. I think the first one is, so what do you want your readers, your listeners, your watchers, you're going to see Michael Botte Band on Spotify. What do you want them to take away from your songs?
So, like I said before, music to me has to do one of three things: make you move, think, or feel. I hope that when people listen to my songs, they could at least do one of those things. If it's got a bit of a beat to it, maybe you could tap your toe. If it's got a catchy hook. If it's got a little bit more, substance behind it, maybe it might make you feel something, or maybe it's got a message behind it. Maybe it'll make you think. So I just hope anyone who listens to a song by the Michael Botte Band will either move, think, or feel, preferably all three.
Yes. Everyone down below in the description, please subscribe to this channel. Listen to Michael Botte Band. Now, for the final question. You ready for this?
I'm ready.
What song or piece of music do you want playing at your funeral?
My wife has this all set up. I swear to God, she has her set up.
Oh.
Yeah. Oh my
I don't
goodness.
like that sound.
Yeah. I don't want to hear the song
he?
anytime soon. I don't want to hear it, but she has her set up. I don't have mine set up. So if I had to pick something, maybe something like, I'm not going to have a funeral probably. I just want to be one of those people that just goes feeds the trees. Like, just put me in a thing and, I want to feed the trees. I don't want a funeral. But if you're going to put me in the thing that like feeds the trees, maybe like a Kool and the Gang song, like celebrate good times. Come on. Maybe something like that. I don't know, man. That was very difficult, but maybe I'll take a Kool and the Gang song.
You surprised when I told you at the beginning of our podcast that song I want playing at my funeral was Philadelphia by Neil Young?
Yes.
It doesn't necessarily mean that I'm going to get that. Well, thank you very much for being so generous with your time. I had fun and a great time. Everyone listen to Michael Botte Band. So what word of advice do you have for an upcoming Michael Botte?
Boy, that's a good one. I think the one thing I learned, like I said earlier, about trying to be, self-contained. And I will say again, there are artists that can do everything. There's plenty of artists that can do everything. For me, I guess my biggest lesson was, don't be afraid to stay in your lane and kind of look to the professionals, look to the people who have been doing this for decades to try to be your support group and kind of give you confidence, and you can learn from, and they can teach you, and to have producers and people around you. And also don't be afraid to join so many different Facebook groups and things like that to learn from other musicians. I've met so many people, Chris, that I have a little crew of musicians that I will send my demos to, and they'll tell me some things here and there. These are people I've never met before in my life, but their music is so good and I trust them, and I'll send them demos to help me out. But so don't be afraid to ask for help. I mean, the greatest music I've ever written is based on songs that I've heard from somebody else. We all know every single song is borrowed from another song, right? It's inspirational. I could tell you so many songs I've written. I'm like, wait a minute, I like the kind of way that sounds. And of course I make it my own, but just don't be afraid to get help, stay in your lane, and just so that way you're not overwhelmed, that you can just kind of take your time and slow down and enjoy this, whether it's a hobby or whether it's your career. Just, enjoy the ride.
This is absolutely amazing. I'm so happy that we were able to get you on.
Yeah,
and,
thank you, bud. Appreciate you.
Oh, that's another one. Yes. Is it Grimrock? The last.
Yeah.
I'm scheduled to interview Grimrock.
He's on Facebook. Yep.
Altered Hatred. What do you call that group? So I'm getting like left, right, and center. So my July is totally booked.
Good.
And I bet you anything, my August and September are going to be booked. I'm so busy now since I joined this Band Together group, and I'm so happy about that.
It's fun. This is a blast. No, thank you for doing this. I appreciate it, bud. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, we're going to stay right there, but we're going to end this. So thank you, Michael. I really appreciate you being part of our podcast, and we look forward to communicating in our Songbird 360 and on the Onstage Podcast Facebook page. And so looking forward to communicating with you. So everyone, we're going to end this stream. And once again, Michael Botte Band.
Thank you, Chris.